Welcome to MTG Ectoplasm, your home for spirits and spirit decks in the world of Magic the Gathering. On this episode, I have an OG. You're like, OG what? An old school, for me personally, spirit content maker. I'm excited. I'm jovial. I'm giddy to have this individual on the show because I hate to tell you, he means something to me. Do I got you curious? I hope so. Let's get this episode started, shall we? Let's go. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on this episode of MTG Ectoplasm. I'm your host, Dwight, aka D Blanco, a medium that wears an extra large. Listen, I got a Twitter. I want you to follow me. Okay, MTG Ectoplasm. I also got an email. I want you to just reach out to me. Tell me your thoughts, your feelings. You know what? If you're having a bad day, I'll listen to you. I swear to God, I'll do that for you. That's at mtgectoplasm@gmail.com. And finally, I have a website. I keep on talking about it. It has all my latest and greatest information. If you want to donate to the show, you can do that there. And if you want to sponsor an episode, look, I've had Jiffy CCG. They sponsored the episode, a couple episodes. They did it from there. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? You can do that there too as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you who I got on the show. I'm actually jovial. I'm giddy. I'm a happy boy. It is Tuesday Tastic. What's up, Tuesday?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing
really excited to be on the show.
Well, thank you very much, my man. It's like I'm excited. You know, let me explain to the listening audience why I'm happy. About a year and a half ago, I own my own business. I own a pooper scooper business called Call of Duty. It's based out of Monmouth County, New Jersey. And I slipped and I landed on a small boulder. I shattered my L1, L2, L3. And according to the doctor, if I would have fell a little bit more to the left, I would be paralyzed from the waist down. During my recovery, I was fortunate to watch a gentleman named Rift, who actually runs the Discord, the Spirit Discord. And this gentleman, Tuesday Tastic, and he always put up the greatest articles about spirits. And I'll tell you, I read them over and over and over again, hoping and praying that I could be a better spirit pilot when I was done with my recovery, so I can sit there and go to my local LGS and start kicking ass. So Tuesday, let me just tell you, you mean a lot to me. I thank you for coming on the show 100%. And you know what? I actually thank you for calling me out, because people don't know, I actually challenged my spirit listeners out there to come up with a pauper deck that kicked butt. And you know what? You brought up Zubaras. We're going to talk about that in a bit. But I want to thank you. Thank you once again for being on the show. It means a lot to me.
That's really flattering of you. I really appreciate it. But I'm just glad that I was able to be such a force of positivity in your life during a really tough time. Like, that means a lot to me.
Well, you know what? I guarantee there's other people that you've touched, especially because the fact that Spirits was such a new tribe and you just came out of nowhere and you started creating this content that, you know, I think a lot of us were starving for. And you know what? Bravo for you to finding a hole and filling it.
I'm happy to be able to do that.
Well, you know what? Let's start by let the listening audience know a little bit about yourself.
All right. Yeah. So my name is Tuesday Tastic. I have been playing Magic for about, I've been playing Magic since Return to Ravnica, although I didn't start seriously playing the game until I went to college around Ether Revolt. And I went really deep into Magic when I went into college, because I went to a college in the middle of nowhere, and Magic was about the only thing you could do out there. So I got really deep into Magic, and I started writing articles for the game. I blog only on Tuesdays, 27.com.
Okay.
And I've kind of gone from there of just like writing about Magic, writing about Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a blast. I love writing.
That's great. I mean, is that your passion, just to sit there and just write away?
Yeah, I'm actually currently studying for an English degree, and it was only because of my hobbies that I found out that I have a passion for writing.
That's badass. That's cool. Well, let me ask you, since you've been playing Magic since the Return to Ravnica, what is your favorite spirit to play with?
So my favorite spirit to play with is probably Rattle Chains. I'm sure that's a very popular answer,
It's definitely one of
but
mine. Rattle Chains is definitely my
Yeah,
favorite.
Rattle Chains is just one of the perfect spirits in my opinion. Giving all your other spirits flash, like I don't know. If I could start every game of Magic with a ley line of anticipation in play, I would.
Hmm. See,
So
I consider Rattle Chains like I don't know. Have you ever heard of Muhammad Ali?
yes.
Okay, what happens is he used to believe he fought this guy named George Foreman. I don't know if you've seen the little little grills that he had out there, and he did this style called the rope a dope. Basically, for me, I think Rattle Chains is the rope a dope. You don't expect him, and then he comes out, protects your guys, or he comes out real quick to smash you in the face, or smash the opponent in the face when they least expect it. So I agree with you hands down. I think Rattle Chains is my personal favorite in the Spirit deck.
Mhm. Yeah, let me tell you, when Spirits was a new tribe, I would catch people with Rattle Chains all the time.
People sleep on that card. So let me ask you, Tuesday, what made you get into wanting to play Spirits?
All right, so this goes back to when I started college. Uh, so while I was there, I got a friend group of a bunch of other Magic players, and I didn't have many cards. When I did play Magic, it was only with every 6 months, and buying a booster pack was a huge financial investment at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, kids don't have a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
but I got to college, and so I needed to bulk up my collection, and so I went on Amazon and I found the cheapest the cheapest bundle I could find, and that was an Eldritch Moon bundle.
Okay.
And when I got that, I opened up a spell queller, and my friend
Nice.
he was like, "Oh, I want to trade that from you," and because it's a really strong card, and I was like, "I don't have many strong cards. I want to keep this."
Exactly.
I didn't know why it was a strong card at the time. I was still so new to the game. But that's not why I got into Spirits entirely. The actual reason I got into Spirits was I wanted to get into EDH at the time, since there was a big EDH scene, and I only had one legendary creature. It was Avacyn Guardian Angel, like the M15 Avacyn that was really bad. Should not have built a deck around her. And I had barely enough cards to make an EDH deck. Like my collection was pitiful at the time.
Right.
Um, but during my first EDH game ever, I was facing up against commanders like Shieldred or Atarka.
Wow.
They were way better than my deck, actually, build. But during that game, I cast a Selfless Spirit, and I cast Gift of Immortality on the Selfless Spirit from my old collection from when I was
Okay.
playing it as a kid. And I barely understood how Gift of Immortality worked, but it was my only creature on the battlefield, so I attached it, and the entire table exploded. And they were like, "Whoa, what a cool combo!" And yeah, I know what I'm doing. And they had to explain to me how it worked and how you can sacrifice, give your board indestructible, and then Gift of Immortality comes back at the end step.
It's a brilliant combo.
Yeah, and when I found out that combo, I was like, all right, this deck sucks, but let's go to 60 card formats. Let's see if we can build a deck around Selfless Spirit, Gift of Immortality. And then I was like, I also have a Spell Queller. That's also a spirit. So let's make a spirit tribal deck. And after I started looking up a bunch of cards, I found Tallow Wisp.
Mm.
For those of you who don't know, Tallow Wisp is a 1 in a white spirit from Kamigawa that says whenever you cast a spirit or arcane spell, search your library for an aura card and put it into your hand. And so that was just the base I needed to build my first deck and write. Well, I didn't write an article about it yet, but I did eventually about this Selfless Spirit Gifted Mortality combo, and it was from that point on that I was hooked. I started playing spirits in Standard, which is where I fell in love with Nebelgast Herald. I started playing some Modern with my friend. He had like an ally deck, and so I put together my Spirits deck. And let me tell you, when Eldritch Moon came out, Spirits was a lot better than it had ever been before, but it was not good yet. It was still like tier 3 or tier 4.
It was missing. It was missing something. It was definitely missing something.
And so the early Spirits deck would play like Collected Company and Noble Hierarch, and like I know Caleb Durward, I believe, was the first one to like top 8 a GP with it, and I copied his deck list, and kind of went from there.
It's a brilliant move. I'll tell you that much. Brilliant move.
Yeah, and it wasn't until like Supreme Phantom was printed that Spirits went from a gimmicky little deck that was my only Modern deck to actually
the deck
being able to take down people. Yeah, the deck.
You know, it's kind of funny, like you say that. Like I remember when I saw Drug School Captain like back in 2012, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is a great card!" But there's nothing to surround it. And then Eldritch Moon hit. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, here we go. This is about to start." And I was like, "Yo, it's missing something. It's missing something. It's just, where's that piece?" M19 hit. Boom. It was go time. And I have not stopped with Spirit since.
Let me tell you, when I saw Supreme Phantom did, like, I couldn't believe it at first. I just kind of like stared at it in shock. Like, did they actually print a Spirit Lord? And like, this is game changing. Like, this made, like, I knew how impactful it was going to be, but it was even better than I expected. It being a 1/3 body was so crazy good for the deck. Like, before all we had were 2 1s.
Right.
And so, and like Spell Queller could block things, but you don't like blocking things with Spell Queller. You don't want it to die.
Right.
And so like Supreme Phantom being able to like block and pump up the team and being a 2-mana lord, it was just perfectly designed for the deck.
This was the piece of resistance, you know. Let me
Precisely.
Let me ask you, because of the, like you brought up Collected Company and how we had to use Noble Hierarch in the beginning. Spirits is a very, very there's a lot of diversity in Spirits. You know, in Historic, we have the mono blue snow build. In Pioneer, we have the Bant and Azorius. And then in Modern, we have the Bant and Azorius there as well. I mean, what type of deck do you like? I mean, are you a Bant guy or are you an Azorius guy, or does it matter in the format you're playing in that you choose to play that particular deck?
It matters a lot on format, and but also I started off as a Bant player because I think that was the only way to play Spirits at a competitive level back in the day, was Bant. But once Supreme Phantom got printed, I started exploring other options, and that's when I discovered blue-white Spirits with Ether Vial, and I fell in love with that deck. I sold my Noble Hierarchs and Collected Companies as soon as I started playing blue-white Spirits, because it just felt so much more consistent.
Right.
Collected Companies, a fun card, but it's not fun when you spin the wheel and get a single Noble Hierarch.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, I also will admit that I'm bad with Collected Company. I have made a lot of mistakes when casting Collected Company. It's hard when I don't make mistakes with it, and I still get punished. And I don't like that in a deck where I try to minimize randomness if possible.
I hear you. Like, the whole goal is like, well, you built your 60, you want it to work a certain way, and then Collected Company, it's Russian roulette. Sometimes it giveth, and sometimes it definitely taketh away.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, like, once I started playing blue-white Spirits, the deck just like kicked up a notch in how I played with it. Like, I was doing so much better with it. don't know, just being able to play that tempo game plan of being able to like spell queller on 3 with a rattle chains or a selfless spirit in the vial, that completely changed the way I viewed the deck.
Okay. Now you just play modern, or do you do pioneer as well?
Yes. So I like modern the most. It is my favorite format.
Amen.
And in modern, I like 2 varieties of spirits. I like blue-white spirits, and I like Jeskai spirits.
Really?
And, that was the subject of my latest article, was Jeskai spirits in modern and pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk more about that in a bit.
Right.
But in pioneer, I still like blue-white spirits in pioneer, but I haven't really touched it much. Touched pioneer much ever since like Inverter was just kind of dominating the format. Just kind of became a boring format, which is sad because I really liked Pioneer at the start.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pioneer. It's just like, you know what, I think right now what people need is, you know, things to start opening up, card shops allowing people to start playing, and I guarantee, you know, we're going to see a lot more Pioneer.
Yeah, no, like I'm looking forward to its future. I haven't played it much during the pandemic. If I like had a choice between Pioneer or Modern right now, it's almost.
We just lost you.
Oh, sorry. If I had a choice between Modern and Pioneer, it's always Modern. I just think the decks are cooler.
No, I seen you play the historic deck. You play the mono blue, and this Ascendant Spirit, man. I hate to tell you, I poo-pooed it, and man, you proved me wrong.
Yeah, so that was the third format I was going to get to. Historic Spirits as mono blue feels so good. It's almost on the same level of like going from blue-white spirit, or going from Bant spirits to blue-white spirits to me. Going like blue-white to mono blue. It's that sense of consistency, since I'm not getting mana screwed, and also just lowering the curve down by like just across the board. It just feels really nice having 1 drops.
It feels good. It must feel good just to have to worry about 1 mana, not have to worry about putting 2 mana or 3 different types of mana into a deck.
Yeah, no, it does matter. Like part of the reason why I struggled with Jeskai spirits is because a lot of Jeskai spirits decks like to play Eidolon of the Great Revel, and the mana for that is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, historic spirits like Ascendant Spirit, it's the real deal. In a deck dedicated around Ascendant Spirit, it can really kick some ass.
Wow. See, I'm happy people prove me wrong. You know what it is? There's the Kithkin, a red and white Kithkin. I forgot what it's called. And
yeah, I know what you're talking about though.
I thought, you know, I looked at the card. I was like, oh, this is a great card. And you know what? It's nothing more than, you know, just a card that you use to clean up, you know, a hamster cage. I mean, it's that bad. And I looked at the Ascendant Spirit, and I'm like, man, I love you, the fact that you're a spirit and you're 1 mana, but it's the same thing with that Kithkin. I can't get behind you.
Yeah, I think it just mostly comes down to it's another 1 drop that starts off as a spirit, and being able to just like hold up mana and activate it whenever you need. Like I know my my game plan in historic is typically just like play Ascendant Spirit turn 1, turn 2, hold up counterspell, or make it a 2/3. And just being able to do that every single turn of the game is just great. Because like as soon as it becomes a 4/4 flyer, answer it.
Nice, very nice. Well, let me ask you. You know, I brought up the fact that I consider you an OG content provider, maker of spirits. What made you get into like wanting to write about spirits?
I think it was just mostly let's see, I started writing about MTG when during Amonkhet's Standard. There was a deck that showed up at the Pro Tour that was like Oketra's Monument deck.
Okay.
And I thought it was really cool. I hadn't written about Magic at the time, but I did have a blog where I DM a lot, and I liked writing before other DMs. And I decided I don't think a lot of people know about this deck, and I'm excited about it. It was a Oketra's Monument spell queller deck. That's why I liked it. I've always been a fan of spell queller, as it turns out.
I hear you.
But yeah, I wanted to share this deck with other people and be like, this is a cool deck. Check it out. And from that point on, like, I just slowly settled into my Spirit's niche because it's like, I want to play Spell Queller. Spell Queller works really good in a Spirit's shell. And a lot of the decks I wrote about just happen to also play Spell Queller.
And that makes sense. Why you've been so into spirits.
Definitely.
Now,
yeah, and so,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna talk to fill time, but I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry about that. I hate to like take away your train of thought because you know what, any golden nugget that you can put out there for any other person that's listening to this going, I like Dwight's content. I like what he, I like this MTG Ectoplasm. Maybe I should consider, look, I picked it up because of you. And, I watched you, like I said, I looked at your website when I was hurt and I felt, I watched Twitch streams. I mean, are there other places where people like myself can get more of you?
I mean, primarily it's my blog and Twitch. If you want to see me creating spirits content, I aim on every Wednesday recently, which I know Tuesday Tastic streaming on Wednesdays, blasphemy. But I've been trying to get back into the streaming game, and it's been fun. I'm really happy I'm getting back into it. I think my problem is I like to stream the decks that nobody's talking about. And so I like to try out Jeskai spirits, Esper spirits, 5-color spirits. That was the thing. And
do me a favor, try a Mardu or a Rakdos. I would appreciate that.
I might actually try that now with Kaldheim. There's actually this really cool combo with the dwarf that like says whenever a card is pulled out of a graveyard, create a 3/2 spirit. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the podcast Faithless Brewing keyed me in on a combo where you use Blood for Bones to you sacrifice a creature that goes into the graveyard, and you pull a creature card out of your graveyard into your hand, and then you put a creature onto the battlefield. Okay. And so the dwarf will see 2 cards leaving the graveyard itself when it enters the battlefield, and a creature when it goes to your hand. And so that'll make 2 3/2 spirits.
Wow.
So yeah, Mardu is actually on the agenda.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I saw Pestilence Spirit that gives instants and sorceries Death Touch.
Yeah. And 3/2 menace Death Touch.
I've been dying to make this thing work. Like I've been begging people because there's like that Vampire Spirit. It's like, oh, fine, blow everything up. Oh, guess what? This guy comes back. I can't. I can't.
Bloodghast.
Yes. Bloodghast. I was like, oh, fine, I don't care. He'll come right back. That's like, I'm dying for somebody to make a Rakdos Spirit deck.
I could see a Rixis Spirits deck. So that way you can play like Supreme Phantom and the like, and then play Electrolyze.
See, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the bad brews. If I'm being honest, like I have never 5-0'd.
No, you know what? Nothing beats brewing. I'll tell you, I love making shenanigans out of nothing. Like I enjoy going to my LGS and I go, okay, let me look at your trash, and I filter through, get the worst cards. I'm like, okay, this combo's on. Now I built a deck.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, it's fun. I love brewing with spirits. There is a lot of wacky spirits. Like spirits is a deck in every single format except standard, and even in standard, sometimes it comes together.
Yeah, it's hard, but there's right now there's a lot more spirits. Thank God.
Yeah, I anticipate that like with Innistrad coming out, like Jeskai Spirits could actually be a deck, or just Boros Spirits because Usher the Fallen's a good card.
I hear you. Now, Tuesday, let me ask you. I'm going to deviate from my next question because there may be people going, okay, you keep on calling him Tuesday. Why ain't you calling him by his real name? I know the story. Tell everybody else why you're Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. So when I was in middle school, middle schoolers would be middle schoolers, and they will say to each other like, "Oh man, you're gay," because like that's how it was.
That was the language back then.
That was the language back then, and rather than like reacting to it and being like, "No, I'm not," or whatever, because like it was an insult, but instead I would just lean into it and I'd say, "Yeah, only on Tuesdays."
I love that.
And it didn't matter what it was. It was my phrase was just to be like, "Yeah, only on Tuesdays," and it was just my way of leaning into things and just like taking whatever someone said and like using it against them, just like agreeing with them.
Right.
And I chose Tuesday because I don't know why. I guess I felt like I was being a hipster by choosing Tuesday because like Monday's the worst day of the week. Wednesday is hump day. Friday is everybody's favorite day of the week. Nobody talks about Tuesday or Thursday.
Exactly.
So I went with Tuesday and kind of made that my thing. And around the same time, I think the movie Wreck-It Ralph came out.
Okay.
And in that movie, there's the character who's like Turbo-tastic. So I became Tuesday-tastic.
There you go. I like that. See, now that I hope listeners listening around the world, the hundreds and hundreds of you listening to the show, found a new way. So if somebody pisses you off, you go, only on Tuesdays.
Do it. Free advertisement for me.
There you go. Only on Tuesdays. Now, let me ask you, because I've gotten several emails, and I think it's comical. They're like, why can't you put out more and more content? Can you tell people how hard it is to sit there and come up with content?
It's tough. Like, creating content is a passion project. I make some money from doing this since I've been doing stuff that I've been
you're lucky.
Recognized by.
You're lucky. I haven't made a single dime.
You're not going to make a dime for a while.
Well, I do this for passion, not for money. But if people want to donate to the show or sponsor an episode, please do so at mtgectoplasm.com. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, do it. He makes good content. But yeah, like, it's 100% a passion project. And passion can vary. I know that my passion for writing has really dwindled in the past year because of coronavirus and all that stuff. And like, I get a lot of my passion for Magic from being with other people, like playing games of Commander with them is one of my main ways to socialize. And not having that this year made it so unbelievably hard for me to make content. And it's not just that. Magic kind of sucked this last year. It wasn't until all the bannings in February, I think, that I actually started enjoying competitive Magic again.
I hear you.
Yeah, and so if you're not enjoying the game, it's hard to create content for the game. And like,
I'm actually surprised. Like, that surprises me because before what's his name, Tybalt, and all his trickery that happened, Spirits was on like winning at an 80% clip. Like it was the deck that everybody slept on. In Dr. Queller, he kept on kicking butt out there, and people were completely unaware of it.
I mean, he's still kicking butt.
Well, I still got my shout out section. I hate to say, I'm going to spoiler here. He's on it, but it's, I'm actually surprised. It's like, I can see where you're coming from. It's like if the game isn't fun, you're going to be like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I've been that way too.
It's been tough recently. Like I'm apprehensive about Universes Beyond. Like I'm worried about some of the directions that Wizards of the Coast is taking. But at the same time, I really enjoy Spirits. It is exactly the way I want to play Magic. And you know what? There's more Spirits cards in the future. There always will be Spirits cards. So I imagine I'll stay with this game for a long time.
Well, I hope you do. I really do hope you because I love your content when you do come out and provide great content for us. But don't let I understand where you're coming from. The universe is beyond. I was a little like, come on, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it fits the motif. Yeah, or like Warhammer 40,000. It doesn't fit the gimmick, but watching, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. I don't agree with them, unfortunately, but you know what? As my friend would say, my friend Tom did say, Wizards is in no obligation to assist or listen to me at all. All they care is what I bring to the table when it comes to finances. And if I don't buy, that's my vote saying I'm not into it.
Yeah, yeah, I have to agree with that. I know that the printer. I mean, I've been struggling with finances this past year, so like no leisure money. But the printer, I mean, that's one way to get around that.
Definitely so. Well, listen, you called me like I didn't. I'm not gonna say you called me out, but like I brought up before about the Pauper thing. I was looking for a competitive deck. I wanted people to go out there and win in Pauper, and you went Zubaras Storm. Have you played that deck?
I think I streamed it once. It's a weird deck. So for the people who don't know Zubara Storm, so this is why I say Spirits is a deck in every single format. In Pauper, there is this deck called Zubara Storm, which is a really weird deck. But the way it works is you play this card called these cards called Zubaras, and so I can remember the names.
They're all spirits now. These are spirits from from Kamigawa block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so the main part of the deck is Floating Dream Zubara. It is a 1 and a blue for a 1/2 Zubara Spirit that says when Floating Dream Zubara is put into a graveyard from play, draw a card for each Zubara put into a graveyard from play this turn. And so the whole point of the deck is you're playing a Storm deck with Floating Dream Zubara as your draw engine. So what you do is you play rituals that say sacrifice a creature, add 4 black mana to your mana pool, such as Culling the Weak. And so that way you can, and then you play other cards such as Undying Evil or Unearth to pull it out of your graveyard after sacrificing it. So that way you can constantly just have it chaining from the graveyard back to the battlefield. And every time you sacrifice it and bring it back to play, you draw an additional card. And so once you get the chain going, you'll have enough rituals, you'll have enough ways to revive the Zubara that you'll be able to a Ember Fist Zubara, which says when it's put into a graveyard for play, to target creature or player equal to the number of Zubaras put into all graveyards from play this turn. And so you just grape shot your opponent essentially. And since grape shot isn't legal in Pauper, but all these incredible rituals such as Lotus Petal, Cabal Ritual, etc. are legal in the format, it's a way to play Storm in a format that banned all the Storm cards.
And it's brilliant. I hate to say it's very brilliant. Like, here's my question for you because I love Pauper. What do you think? Is anything missing in this deck? Is there something that Wati needs to do to improve this deck?
Yeah. They need to print a second copy of Floating Dream Zubara. Only combo piece being a 4 of, it sucks for combo decks. Like, the 8 of rule is really important, and this deck just does not have that currently. And so, like, they play Shred Memory as a transmute card that can search for Floating Dream Zubara. And until there's more Zubaras, this deck probably won't exist. And that's the thing. When will they ever print more Zubaras? So I think this deck is
allegedly
stuck.
we're going back to Kamigawa soon. Allegedly.
I have heard the rumors. But if you want to play a Pauper deck that plays like Spirits, I really like Is it Delver. That deck just feels good. It's a top tier deck, so you don't need to be worried about playing jank. Because Zubaras Storm, as interesting as it is definitely jank.
Okay. Well, you know what? I love the honesty, And you know what? If look, I'll tell you, if anybody is listening and they top in a popper competition, let me know. I will shout you out. I will interview you because you did a great job because of the Hellet Spirits. Now, Tuesday. Let's get serious. It's time to get to the meat and potatoes. The reason why I brought you on the show.
Let's do it.
Okay. It's going to hurt me to ask you this because what are your thoughts on Strixhaven?
Overall, I enjoy the set. Like, I like it. I think it's got a good flavor to it for the most part. And I think that it has some really cool cards, especially for my favorite format, which is Cube. One of my favorite things about Strixhaven is how they've decided to up the amount of good removal that they're printing. This set has so much good removal. But this is a Spirits podcast, and the Spirits in Strixhaven are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Just they do not fit our tribe very well, unfortunately.
No, they don't. Not at all. I mean, God, let's put this. I love this set. I think it's a great set. I've been waiting for a set like this in a long time. It makes me happy. I mean, I haven't been this way since the original Ravnica. But with Spirits, man, it's just, and it's the same thing with Kaldheim. I was not impressed with any of the Spirits. Like I said, you proved me wrong with the Ascendant Spirit, but I have not been impressed at all. And this is 2 back-to-back Spirit decks. And I'll go back to what my friend Tom said. Wizards is in no obligation at all to sit there and help our deck out. Under no obligation. And that pisses me off when he told me this. But at the same time, it's like I'm looking at this. I'm like, well, you gave us a Spirit Lord. Hoffrey the Ghost Forge. And I'm like, but it's a white, a red, and 3 generic for a 4 or 5 dwarf cleric that's not a spirit. Like, what the hell are you doing, Watsy?
Yeah, that, like, there's no way that sees play in Modern, because
it's too expensive. It's way too expensive.
Collected Company is the top of our curve almost always. Like, we're not playing Lyra Dawnbringer. We're not going to play Hoffrey Ghost Mage.
So you're not happy at all with the direction that Watsy's going with the Spirits this time?
I'd say I'm not happy for it for our deck. Overall, though, like, I think it's cool that they're taking Spirits in a different direction of, like, being graveyard focused, in the sense that, like, when things come out of the graveyard, like, doing that stuff. I think that Boros definitely has struggled with its color identity, and I like that they're exploring new directions with it. I just kind of wish it wasn't Spirits.
I hear you. Now, is there any particular card or cards that you see that we could use in?
Yeah. So in my article, the article titled, "So You Want to Play Jeskai Spirits," I talk about Jeskai Spirits in both Modern and in Pioneer, because I think that if we are going to see a Spirits shell playing any of these new cards, it's most likely going to be in Jeskai, because that's where blue-white is just where the majority of our cards are found. And in Modern, I have zero hope for this set. Like, one of the best cards for Spirits in the set is Venerable Warsinger.
I love that card.
Which I'm going to... But it's a 1 red and a white for a 3/3 Vigilance Trample that says when Venerable Warsinger deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature card with mana value equal to the amount of damage that Venerable Warsinger deals this turn.
Equal to or less.
Equal to or less. Almost. And, like, that card has a lot of really cool lines with Spirits. I mean, Mausoleum Wanderer, you sacrifice something early, you sacrifice it to counter something early in the game. Venerable Warsinger brings it back. This harkens back to one of my favorite combos of Selfless Spirit, Gift of Immortality. This is pretty similar and way more proactive than Gift of Immortality, because you can just sacrifice Selfless Spirit, swing in, bring self. I also like it with Shacklegeist, because it has Vigilance, and so what you can do is you can swing with a 3/3, then use Shacklegeist's ability to tap it and another creature to tap their biggest blocker. So like if they have I would say Tarmogoyf, but that's probably not the format you can play it in.
Right.
If they have a Niv-Mizzet, you can tap down their Niv-Mizzet, still get in for 3 damage, and bring something else out of your graveyard.
You read my mind with that. Because as soon as I saw that card, I was like, oh, this would be great with Shacklegeist.
Mm-hmm. But it's got issues with it. And here's why I will never see play in Modern. It's a 3-mana 3/3 that does nothing the turn it comes into play.
No ETBs.
There's this concept in the Cube community that has definitely been expanded to the Magic community as large. But in the Cube community, we use this a lot, is the dichotomy between Baneslayers. And Baneslayers are cards that they don't do anything the turn they enter, but if they can attack, they'll win you the game. And Mold Drifters are cards that don't do very much on their own, but when they enter the battlefield, or they do something. So in Mold Drifters' case, it's draw 2 cards. In other cards' cases, it's like haste. That could count as a Mold Drifter. And this card, Venerable Warsinger, is incredibly pushed. I don't think they can put another piece of dialogue, or they can't put like anything else on this card without it being literally almost Oko level.
Well,
but it's not good enough.
Flying would have worked.
Flying maybe, but I think it still needs to do something the turn it enters the battlefield. Turn 3, critical turn in Modern, and I don't know.
All right.
If it had haste, Slam would have become a deck.
Okay.
But it really needed haste to become playable, which is so interesting that they pushed it as hard as they did, and it's still not good enough.
So basically, this is the only card that you can actually see at all that is worth a damn us playing with at all.
Yeah, that I think's worth building around and like playing with.
Okay.
I think Strict Proctor is another interesting card. 1 in a white, 1/3 flyer.
It's a great card. It's a great card, but
it counters so many things in our deck. Mausoleum Wanderer, Rattle Chains, Spell Queller, Skyclave Apparition. All of these cards are just absolutely just stopped by Strict Proctor, and those are like the 4 best cards in our deck.
Yeah.
The reason Spirits is top tier again is because Skyclave Apparition, and I don't want to take that out of my deck to play Strict Proctor.
No, well, it's kind of funny. Like the listening audience, you don't know, but I have gone out of my way to foil out my Spirits deck. I've made sure that every land is like foiled in Expedition. I made sure, fortunately, I got my hands on Masterpiece Aether Vials, So now my deck is amazing. And I saw Strict Proctor. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this and foil and next, and I'm like, hold on, take your time, read the card, think about what it does. I was like, oh no, this is awful. This is awful for Spirits. No, I'm not getting this card.
Yeah, if you haven't ever played against Torpor Orb, it's a nightmare.
I never played against Torpor Orb. That's the whole reason why I was like, oh yeah, this is great. And oh no, it's not great.
Yeah, I've played against War of Invention opponents who will go find a Torpor Orb, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just playing a bad beatdown deck now because I literally can't interact with my opponent anymore when there's a Torpor Orb.
That sucks. Now let me ask you. Yes, we've discussed before. We have the Mono Blue Spirits. We have the Band Spirits. We have the Azoria Spirits. Is it time that we start from scratch and build a whole new Spirit deck?
Well, I think I frequently go on Scryfall, T:(Spirit, 600, 700 Spirit cards that have been printed. And frequently I settle on the same cards, which is the cards that we play from Innistrad and Shadows over Innistrad block as well. Those are the cards that are actually good enough for Spirits. There's just a lot of draft chaff in Kamigawa that just clogs up everything. A lot of times WotC will just print a Spirit that's just kind of just a Spirit in the set, just like just a common to fill out a slot. And I think that we have almost all of the spirits cards that we need already in the mainstream consciousness. I have tried very hard to make brews around all the different spirits decks. Like I talked earlier on the show how like 5-color spirits is a thing. Because like the 5-color humans is a deck that does very well, obviously. And so trying to take their mana base and apply it to spirits was a good idea in principle. But we miss out on a lot of good cards and other valuable sideboard cards. And so like while I've tried that, flavors of spirits, I think ultimately just sticking with the blue-white core is where our deck is strongest.
Okay.
And expanding from that, while doable, it's challenging. Like I can talk about the different flavors of spirits. Esper spirits exist because they want to play Lingering Souls, and Lingering Souls is a very strong card. But the problem with Esper spirits is you want to play cards like Thoughtseize, which is tempo negative. You are spending 1 mana to take away 0 mana worth of cards, since your opponent has spent 0 mana on it. That makes sense. And while Thoughtseize is obviously still very powerful, we're a tempo deck. A lot of our plays want to be cheaper than our opponents and stopping them. So it's why when you spell Queller a Supreme Verdict, it feels great.
I just lost you there. Like all I heard was you counter a Supreme Verdict that's great, and then you win out.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
So what you want to do is spell Queller. You counter it and you time walk them since they spent 4 mana to do nothing. That's tempo. You want to do things cheaper than your opponent. It's why I like the historic version of spirits. It's because everything's so cheap. You can really do really good tempo with that deck. And Lingering Souls, while it's a very powerful card, it tends itself towards more slower decks. Like Mardu Pyromancer used to be one of my favorite decks, and that deck could really utilize the slower pace of Lingering Souls. Use it as chump blockers, and then eventually you have like 6 on the battlefield and you kill your opponent. Spirits needs to kill the opponent quickly because our interaction, while good, is good temporarily. We get outpaced. And if we aren't killing our opponent by the time we are getting outpaced, we lose the game.
Bravo.
And so that's why Esper doesn't work very well. Jeskai, which is my personal flavor of spirits that nobody plays, it struggles. Eidolon of the Great Revel is the only red spirit that matters, besides Venerable Warsinger, which is getting printed. Maybe it'll surprise me. Eidolon of the Great Revel is a very powerful card. Burn plays it. Any decks that are really aggressive try to play it. And Spirits is decently aggressive. We're not the fastest deck. But we're not slow either. And so Eidolon of the Great Revel makes sense. But it costing red just puts so much stress on the mana base.
Right.
Like in my article, I talked about how you need turn 1 Mausoleum Wanderer, so blue. Turn 2, Eidolon of the Great Revel, red. Turn 3, Skyclave Apparition, white, or 1 white. And that mana is just extremely challenging.
Mm.
The reason Dance Spirits works is because they are splashing for 2 pips in the entire deck. Noble Hierarch and Collected Company.
Yeah.
And then once you get 1 green land on the battlefield, you can just search up blue-white lands for the rest of the game and be happy.
Oh.
Noble Hierarch is fixing. If you vial in a Noble Hierarch, your mana's fixed, and you're good for the rest of the game.
Right.
These other decks that want to play like Thoughtseize, they want to play Lightning Bolt, you have to get it through your mana base. You can't get it through just the dork. And that does complicate things. And like 3-color mana bases are obviously doable, but with these other decks, like they want to play cards like Bloodghast. And again, that's just hard on the mana. They want to play they just want to play all these other cards, and it just makes things slightly more difficult for not enough of a payoff to be worth it.
I hear you.
Sorry, I rambled there for a bit.
No. Trust me, I enjoyed that ramble because there's a a learning moment there. You know, uh, there are people out there, I guarantee, that are trying. They're like, oh, you know what? I don't know. Let me try this and that. You know, go ahead, try. You know, you've tried. You know, I'm not poo-pooing anybody else who wants to try. Go ahead. You're more than welcome to prove Tuesday wrong. Prove me wrong. You know, I'm all for it. You know,
Yeah, like if someone can become successful with a deck that isn't a Mausoleum Wanderer, Rattlechain, Spellqueller, Apparition, like I'd love to see different brews of spirits. Like in my article for Pioneer, I made a deck based around all the new spirits cards: Venerable Warsinger, Strict Proctor, and even Make Your Mark, which is a 1-mana instant that like gives a creature +1/+0. When it dies, you create a 3/2 spirit token.
right. I saw that.
And yeah, and that deck is not playing to the traditional spirit idea of like tempoing, playing at flash instant speed, and like trying to do all these things. It's a weird like it's a little bit of taxes with Strict Proctor,
Right.
and a little bit of combo even, because like one of the best combos in the deck is Selfless Spirit, Venerable Warsinger on the battlefield. You cast Make Your Mark on Selfless Spirit. It gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Then you sacrifice it. Oh, it doesn't matter. You sacrifice it. You make a 3/2 Spirit. You swing with Venerable Warsinger that's indestructible. It hits them. You bring back Selfless Spirit. And you got 5 power for free for 1 mana. And so, like, that could have potential. Like, that could actually become a deck.
It could.
I doubt it. I don't think it's...
It needs that
I don't
owl.
think it's...
It needs that owl that you can play that card from the graveyard for 0 mana because it targets that creature.
Yeah, like if like Selfless Spirit and Venerable Warsinger become a thing, it's not in a Spirits deck. Let me tell you that. But it was fun to make. Like, I like Supreme Phantom. I'm gonna jam it in as
Tuesday, you dropped out on us.
Okay, sorry. I like Supreme Phantom. I'm gonna jam it in as many decks as I can.
I hear you. Well, let me ask you real quick. If Watsi came up to you and said, hey, Tuesday, we know that you've been a creator of content for quite some time for Spirits. We want your insight, and we want to have you design a spirit for us. Tell me, Tuesday, what would you want Watsi to build for you?
Okay. Well, there's 3 spirits that I have in mind.
Holy cow.
Spirit 1.
3 spirits.
Well,
okay.
Just like some options. 2 of them are 1-drops because spirits.
Why not?
We have Mausoleum Wanderer, which is literally the best 1-drop for tribal of all time.
Amen.
Like you compare it with like goblins. They have their 1/1 that when it deals combat damage, you put a goblin from your hand in play. That card's great.
Lackey,
thank you. It's like it's on the same tier as Lackey, although I think Lackey kind of sucks. It dies to Red and 6. It dies to Lava Dart. Like if it got printed in Modern Horizons 2, goblins still wouldn't be a deck.
valid.
I'm almost convinced on that. Mausoleum Wanderer though, like literally best tribal 1-drop ever printed. Our other 1-drop, Spectral Sailor. It's
good, but it's not.
It's okay. Like
Yeah.
I've been playing like 3 copies of my decks and I'm happy with it, but like it's not very exciting.
No, it's a mana sink when you have nothing else to do.
Yeah. And that's not too great. So this is why I have 2 1-drops. So the first 1-drop, real simple. White 2/1 flyer.
Okay.
That's it. Ship it. Print it.
That's it?
Yeah.
White 2/1 flyer.
That also happens to be a spirit.
Okay. Next.
Well, I'll talk about this for just a bit.
Okay.
I think I play a lot of Cube. And Cube, like, if you want to have a good white weenie deck, you need to play all the white mana 2/1s out there. And there is one card that comes close to this in Sky Marcher Aspirant that is a white mana 2/1 that says Ascend, it gains flying. And Ascend is if you get 10 permanents, you have ascended for the rest of the game.
It's a vampire from the Ixalan block, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And like, I think a white mana 2/1 flyer like would be really good. Like Usher of the Fallen, I really like that card. I'm tempted to like actually try it out. Although I'm a little apprehensive because every non-flyer we have in the deck makes our opponent's ground creatures that much better. So, but two power creatures are really good for 1 mana, and just being able to get a white 2/1 flyer, it doesn't sound impressive, but it'd be really strong.
Okay.
Another card I'd like to see is Ascendant Spirit, but instead of snow mana, it's white blue mana. Like, that'd be great.
Okay.
I tried to make Ascendant Spirit work in a blue-white shell in Modern, and it was almost there. Like, if I could have worked with the mana base more, like worked with getting Prismatic Vistas and cutting some of the harder to cast cards like Skyclave Apparition, which sounds awful, I know. But it was still impressive.
Okay.
Like with the vial, like with Ether Vial, it works really well because you can sink mana into it but still be able to protect it. And
that makes sense. Like if you're gonna play just mana next and you're like, okay, no. But you know, you're talking Ether Vial put into play, you know, flashing it at the end to get their opponent's turn, and then I do the mana thing. Now it's like a 2/3 or 3/3. Oh yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, and like the thing about Ascendant Spirit, what makes it so good is it can be a threat by itself. You don't need other cards to make it good. So in the late game, like if you play Spectral Sailor and you just start drawing cards with it, that's great. It's a threat, but it doesn't threaten to end the game. It just threatens to draw a lot of cards. And the thing about Modern, game can end any second. Like they cast Heliod Walking Ballista, GG's, you're done.
All right.
So like having a card that you can sink but is also a legitimate threat is great. And that's what I like Ascendant Spirit. I wish it had different mana costs associated with it, but it's close. It is close enough to being good enough for the tribe.
Okay.
And the third card I'd like a Esper Spirits Commander, like specifically one that works with angels and humans as well.
Okay, that's different.
It is different. That there's a lot of synergy between humans, angels, and spirits that isn't talked about. Like there's this one card that like says it's an angel, beginning of your upkeep, return a spirit from your graveyard to your hand. There's another card where it's just like when it enters the battlefield, like actually I completely blanked on the card. Like just synergy between spirits, angels, and humans in a casual sense.
Right.
And I don't know. I think it'd make a fun commander.
That's valid. Now, here's mine. You tell me what you think of mine. I brought it up in a previous episode, probably like about a month ago. And you tell me what you think of it. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. It's 1 white mana. It's a 1/1 flyer. And it's called Quarters Attendant. Basically, you tap 2 generic mana, or one, or like a white blue, let's say white blue, and a generic. Sacrifice this Quarters Attendant. Destroy target non-basic land.
Oh. Land hate on a 1/1 flyer that is white blue.
Like, but it has to be white blue to you have to pay either that the hybrid, either white or blue, and 1. So you have to pay 2 mana to get it.
I think that card would be very good, but I don't think it's within Color Pie. The closest thing we've gotten to blue destroying lands is Pauper Acid Trip.
Oh,
that deck?
I would love to have an Acid Trip Spirit.
Yeah, so there's like this old card called Reality Acid.
I love that card.
It's enchanted to a permanent, and when Reality Acid leaves the battlefield, you sacrifice the permanent. It's a weird card. And so there's a pauper deck just built around putting down your opponent's lands and then bouncing it back to your hand.
Well, that would be great. You know, it comes into play. Oh, I named that card right there. And when my creature leaves the battlefield, oh, that thing goes too.
That'd be interesting. I don't imagine that card could be printed as is. But if it were like 1 white red to activate the ability, that would fit since Stone Rain is a thing.
Right.
Like 2 in a red to do it. And then that could be like good draw to like Just Guy.
The reason why I brought up white to do it is just the fact of Armageddon. I mean, that's how old I played. I played since, old school times.
I'm very familiar with Armageddon. Like I said, the white weenie deck, just follow it up with an Armageddon, you're golden.
And because the fact that if you look at the image of Ghost Quarter, that's where I got this image. It was like, you have spirits right there at the Ghost Quarter. I'm like, oh, shouldn't we have a spirit at running the show at the Ghost Quarter?
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Just a thought. I'm like, there should be an attendant. There should be a quarters attendant, and he should be a spirit, and he should be able to assist in getting rid of land. Just saying.
What if instead it was tap, destroy target non-basic land, and they search the library for a basic?
But
so it's like Ghost Quarter just on a
I like that, but it has to enter the play tapped.
Yeah.
Then yes, you sold American.
I could see that card getting printed.
I'm in. Wanty, if you're listening, make it happen.
Please. I want to have a good matchup against Tron.
That's the whole reason why I thought of that card. Just because of Tron. Well, technically it was a Field of the Dead, but that and Field of the Dead, I was like, we got to do something.
Glad that's gone.
Oh, thank you, sweet baby Jesus. Now, I got a question for you. What do you think of the current state of meta, the modern currently?
Oh, Modern's in a fantastic place right now. Like I said, I haven't been enjoying Magic up until now when everything got banned. And I think Modern's place. Like, the decks are fun. I think the meta has really slowed down. And I think a large reason of that is Heliod Company putting so much pressure on the meta to interact. It's like the whole Splinter Twin argument of like, oh, if Splinter Twin would have to slow down to interact with it. And we're seeing that with a green-white deck in Heliod Company. And I think that's really exciting that the meta has slowed down and isn't just turbo combo each other.
I hear you. So
I do wish that they revisit the ban list because like I'd love to see cards like Faithless Looting and Birthing Pod unbanned, but I know that for some people they do not want those unbanned. I understand why.
You surprised me with the Faithless Looting there. That one was a shocker.
It surprised me too because like before Faithless Looting was banned, I wanted it banned. But then after it was banned, I like looked through all my jank decks that because I'm a brewer, I like making bad decks for articles, and it's like Faithless Looting was a key component of so many of my decks, and like I said, Answer is like one of my all-time favorite decks, and because it did play Lingering Souls, so technically a Spirits deck, and yeah, losing out on Faithless Looting hurt me.
I hear you. Well, you know what? It's come down. You know what? I thank you for being on the show Tuesday.
My pleasure.
But you know what? It's time for the shout out section. You know what the shout out section is?
Yeah. So like, you want me to just shout out now?
Well, no, just I'll let you shout out in a second. The shout out section is where I tell people, I look online. I hunt for you people. The top 8, on top 8, I look at you for MTG Goldfish, MTGcards.net. I'm looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme, the people who kick ass with spirits. Well, you know what? This week in Pioneer, a gentleman went 5-0, or shall I say, went 5-0 with an Azorius deck, April 8th. And I want to applaud, hands down. I want to give a shout out, applaud, Ms. Frosty. Congratulations, Ms. Frosty, going 5-0, kicking ass with it. in Pioneer. Now in Modern, this gentleman went 5-0 with a Bant deck February 9th. Now let me just tell you, I'm actually surprised. I need to have you on. I'm calling you out, bro. You need to come on this show immediately. This gentleman went 5-0 with a Bant deck, and he usually does it with an Azorius deck. You know what? Shout out Dr. Queller, kicking ass again. Congratulations, Dr. Queller, for proving that Spirits is the best deck in Modern. You know what? I looked for you guys in Legacy. I looked for you guys in Historic. It's all right. You guys kicked ass earlier this week and last week, and I want to thank you guys for doing what you're doing. Yeah, making me proud out there. You know what makes me want to keep on making content? And I know Tuesday probably excited there too. But Tuesday.
Yeah, kick ass in all the formats, please.
There you go. I love that. Now Tuesday, I promised you it's time for you to do your shout out. Let the listening audience know where they can get a hold of you. If you got something to plug it right now, sir.
Yeah, so you can find me and my articles on my website, www.onlyontuesdays27.com. And you can follow me on Twitter, where I post my articles. I post when I'm streaming, all these other things, and just like post pictures of my cats if you want to see those. And you can follow me at Tuesday Tastic. And you can also follow me on Twitch. I try to stream there at least once a week. And I primarily am playing some weird version of Spirit. If I'm not, I'm either cube drafting or I'm playing another bad deck that I probably should not be touching. But you know, I found a combination between two cards and wanted to put it to its test. And that is also Tuesday Tastic.
Oh, there you go. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, there is a Spirit Discord. You know what? He's on the Spirit Discord. He does, he does look at stuff that people say. He does respond to the stuff. You're a moderator there, I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I only get the best for you guys. And of course, Tuesday is one of the best. So there you go.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's the time of the show. You know what? I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Tuesday, he was doing his thing. He was kicking ass on this interview. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I want to thank you listening around the world to this show. Arrivederci. Adios. Goodbye.